is the
show after
the show after the show.
All right.
overtime.
Overtime.
We got to go overtime.
Too much happening this weekend. You know, it's like 4 days of action in the city of Denver right now.
Oh man, Brian, what's up, bro?
Not much, man. It's good to see you. It's finally
see you,
it's
man.
Finally, for the first time, I've been thinking about this for a year, wanting to come in and get some conversation with
Well,
you.
right on, and we got to do it more often. I just got to tell you, I always listen to you. It's just like you have a wealth of everything: environmental, social, legal, whatever.
I'm not a lawyer, so
you
we'll
know
start
what,
the
you know
trigger
what to do.
with that. Huh?
You're not a lawyer, but you know what it's like to get arrested. Or you've seen folks get jammed up. We all know what it's like.
It is. It is tough in the city, and it doesn't help those who are downtrodden to have to fight even more by dealing with the legal system in addition to paying rent and putting food on the table.
Well, I tell you, right here in the Mile High Income City, you know, if we think about what's happening with our homeless, or what I call now unhoused neighbors.
Yes, our community.
Our community, it's rather disappointing, shameful, and as PJ says, we are some of the worst offenders nationally as it relates to how we treat individuals that are dealing with the elements or could use a helping hand. What we'll do is take their property and even take their blankets.
Well, it's become such an epidemic, which is the word that I use, that the United Nations is coming to Colorado.
Wait a minute, hold on. You better read that trigger alert. You better hit them with the trigger alert.
Trigger alert. This is a show that triggers people because you have entered a free think zone. If you are not willing to be exposed to other points of view, tune out now. And don't read the comments. You have been warned.
You have been warned. Se le ha advertido.
Oh, right. You are enhancing that multilingual aspect.
Let's do it. But now you said who's coming to town and for what?
So the United Nations is coming to town in the beginning of February, the first week of February, I believe it is. And they are specifically coming to meet with Denver Homeless Out Loud advocates as a follow-up to their visits in California regarding how homelessness in the United States is worse than tent communities where refugees are living in war-torn countries.
You mean to tell me, and I didn't get the press release, and I get a lot of press releases from fancy big systems and organizations. I didn't know that we were at the level where the UN wants to come to the Mile High Income City and investigate.
Well, when you have $1 million campaign budget, you can try to slide some of that stuff under the table. You know?
Here come the grits. And you know, so I really want to get into a lot with you, Brian, because we are getting into what we call the MLK weekend. And, you know, the speeches are about to be played. All of the, you know, locking of arms are about to take place. And, you know, it's hard to reconcile this taking place at the same time a resurrection city is going to be also constructed illegally. When you say camping, and there's an urban camping ban.
Oh, I did exactly say camping, yes.
So talk about this whole situation that is going to take place on Sunday.
Sunday night, yes. So,
Sunday night.
So if we look at the history of Denver, Colorado, and we should know that where Saturday's march is occurring, the Women's March, that ground, the Civic Center Park, and the plaza between the Capitol and the City County Building used to be a man camp. During the Dust Bowl era, it was an area of refuge in our state where people were living, were being fed, were going to the bathrooms because those services were being provided here in the capital of the state of Colorado. And so on Sunday nights, those people who have been most known for camping in the city of Denver, those people who can't afford the outrageous rent rates, are going to be joined by the other famous group of people, the citizens. And it's being done under you can go to Facebook right now, Occupy Denver, and you can find the Return of Resurrection Village action event that is happening on Sunday night at the intersection roughly of 27th and Arapaho, where we will be honoring a gentleman who was here with us earlier, John. Jerry, I apologize, Jerry. So many people we've been chatting with in the last couple of days. Jerry had a direct conversation with the mayor, right, PJ? How many years ago now?
4 years ago, when they took his blankets, he was sitting in front of the mayor's office. They took his blankets. They were U.S. Marine Corps blankets. He is a U.S. Marine.
A veteran.
A veteran. And he went into housing, and now he's back out on the streets.
Wow, okay. So the mayor made a commitment to the people, right? And it's so easy sometimes to forget the promises or the oaths that we make to the citizens that we represent. But that commitment was that we were going to stop having situations where the blankets were stolen from people in the middle of the cold times.
Well, now this whole conversation takes a turn when you say stolen blankets, taken blankets, a Marine blanket. You know, this is the veterans and our men and women in service, and I would say trans and all that, because you got to update the whole vocabulary.
LGBTQIA.
But you know, there are people who fight to make sure we enjoy certain rights and etc.
Defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
Imagine that, and then get your blanket taken by someone who probably did not go over there and defend those different ways of life, but are defending policies that I think are very inhumane.
Let's cut it a little bit deeper, Jeff, because I really want to call it as honestly as I can. So the people who take the property of other individuals are, first of all, violating the Constitution of the United States of America, that people are supposed to be secure in their papers and their possessions, okay? And the people who do that, when they take their oath of office, they're taking an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. They are not taking an oath to defend the statutes of the city and county of Denver. They are taking an oath to defend and honor the Constitution of the United States. So when somebody who wears a badge issued by the city of Denver confiscates private property, they are violating their oath to defend the Constitution, because they're violating the Constitution in that action.
Well, you know, Jerry Burton is who we're talking about. And
yes.
Again, Jerry, want to certainly thank you for all you're doing, what you've done, your service, a veteran who finds himself needing housing.
A lot of us find ourselves needing housing, right?
Why doesn't this go to the courts?
So
for the people stealing.
It has gone to the court, so there is a, you know this.
So there's an injunction, right? And this is very clear. Their Denver Homeless Out Loud is currently in pre-trial status in federal courts with the city of Denver. And whether there's a full-blown trial...
This is to stop the confiscation of property.
Of property, right? Because there were dump trucks, and people were just having their stuff put right into the dump truck, where it would be compacted and hauled off to the landfill. So the courts, the federal courts, issued an injunction, right? And on Sunday night, we are expecting that injunction to be honored, right?
So in other words, even though there is a so-called camping ban, there's an injunction.
Yeah.
And so if you all are harassed in any way by any type of law enforcement or those who are enforcing whatever, they will be breaking the law.
They will be breaking the law. Absolutely.
What do we do when those who are expected to uphold the law break the law? What do we do?
Well, in some circles we call it auditing our government. Now,
but here's the other thing. Our city council members, and I can call them out. We have Robin Kniech is not taking a position on. In fact, she says I'm neutral. How can you be neutral when people are dying on the street?
Hold on, Robin Kniech is neutral on what?
She is not supporting the right to survive bill. She is neutral.
Well, hold on. Let's.
So is your mayoral candidate. The only mayoral candidate who's not neutral is Lisa Calderon.
Well, let's dig into that, because there's so much that we got to talk about. But again, I want to hammer down the logistics of the Resurrection Village or city. I call it city, but it could be village. Sunday at what time? Folks are going to meet at what address?
So it's the 2700 block of Arapaho, 27th and Arapaho.
And it's Jerry's camp.
And it's where Jerry currently lives. That is the area where he is finding himself on the streets due to no fault of his own. My understanding, there's no housing, right? So he's not in housing. And we're going to support him.
At what time?
So we're going to have the vigil. There's going to be some speakers and some silent time. There's a possibility that the No Enemy singers are going to come because, of course, Monday's the parade. So community's going to be gathering, doing all kinds of things. But we're going to start at 7, and there's going to be food brought in a sustainable way. So if you're coming out and you're housed, we have several asks, right? But we'll start with the 7 o'clock. There's going to be an hour and a half or so of community gathering in a formal, what you do at a protest where you have speakers and storytelling, right? After that, some people might find that they didn't dress warm enough to stay out for more than 2 hours. And they're going to experience how harsh it could be for somebody to spend out all night, right?
It's an intervention.
So it is a whole kind of thing, right? The better you're dressed, the longer you're going to be able to stay out. Some people have big activities planned for Monday, and they're going to go home to their homes, right? And some of us are going to stay out with those who are forced to do that anyway. And so I'm one of those people who is going to be sleeping in a sleeping bag in a tent, and I will be sleeping in public space, what I actually believe to be formerly Denver Public Housing Space.
This is
home.
And by the way, it's the corner of Arapaho, and we have a Ute native woman coming. She is going to smudge this land. This is blood-soaked land.
What I'm hearing is so interesting because there's a lot of symbolism that I'm hearing, and there's a lot of symbolism through this weekend. But your symbolism is rooted in real life, what's happening right now. In other words, you all will be camping on land that used to be occupied or housed with individuals who were subsidized or were in some way able to live there because they were getting assistance.
Right.
Now, that land their property is usually being torn down by the Denver Housing Authority and sold on the open market,
right,
which was our public, I think
But they moved those houses. They moved that housing north about 3 blocks.
So they erased that housing and left a little bit of a circus.
All those new houses that are up there, they look like condos.
Yeah.
But those are all public housing. That's all public housing.
And whether it's public housing, that's a whole problem to begin with. Because when we're looking at homelessness in the city of Denver, we're looking at programs that are corporate systems, right? So Section 8 housing, the veterans home, pathway to housing programs, whatever it is, it's rent based. It means that corporations who own the land and own the units continue to make a profit. The person who comes home from war and ends up with mental health struggles and comes back and forth, he's never going to get a chance to own the place that he lives in till he dies. And if he has a descendant or somebody else that he's in a relationship, pass that on to give the community hands up.
Well, I can tell you the point that I was making before JB got a little bit more specific in terms of location is basically this. There was a portion of our city in every neighborhood.
Yep.
On Curtis Street right now, if you are new to the Mile High Income City, you will see these red brick buildings. We used to call it Brick City.
Brick City.
Now they have a big fence around them, and because some of us were doing community journalism and taking pictures of what was happening in that location, they put green draping around those fences so you can't see what's going on. If you look at what's going on from the top, you will see that some of it is being demolished.
Yes, the top.
You will just see the demolish of that property.
Yeah.
Hold on, JB,
Condos.
before you go to the next. This is the condo, and this was around the corner, and this was down the block. I'm talking about Brick City.
Brick City.
That used to be housed by individuals that were on subsidized housing. It wasn't affordable housing. It was subsidized housing. It was places where people who didn't have a certain income had a place to live. Now, the organization that was in control and is in control of that land is called Denver Housing Authority.
Okay.
They were on the side of poor people, I thought. No, back in the day when there was a recession, they were on the behalf of poor people. But now that the things have changed, they are selling that property to the developers who are making big money off of places where you all will be sleeping and demonstrating on the weekend.
Right, but Denver Housing Authority is even doing that in the neighborhoods where they own houses, and these properties are getting to $750,000, $500,000 of value. I have a friend that you may be familiar with. Shark is
absolutely Shark. Yeah.
So by now she should own a property as much as Denver's. She's been in that setting, and they're threatening to kick her out of her house because she's in $1 million neighborhood.
And they also always threaten to kick her out because she has a voice.
That's
and
right.
Anybody who raises their voice or exercises their constitutional rights somehow becomes an enemy of those who want to just run roughshod over ordinary people.
That's
so
right.
It's the Denver Housing Authority that actually pressed charges against homeless people 4 years ago for sleeping outside.
That's right.
We call them the Denver 10. They have restraining orders. Those poor people are not even allowed to be anywhere near Denver Housing Authority property.
Now, the thing about Denver Housing Authority, it's real tricky, AJ, when you think about how this plays out. You hear Denver Housing Authority. You're like, authority over what and whom? And then you say Denver, oh, this is attached to Denver. But then when you investigate, they say, oh, no, we're really not attached to Denver. We are a private organization in and of ourselves, but the big wigs of Denver appoint our board. You see how this stuff starts to get all whittled up? So basically, the people who you thought were defending your rights as homeless or giving you access into the mainstream of society, they are nothing more than developers now, and they have already claimed that we are selling the land. We let that property sit as dog parks, but now we're selling it to developers, and we're making a profit. All of them are making profits as if that our public domain belongs to them.
You said a trigger word for me, and I'm looking at the trigger alert, and that was dog parks. Do you know that there are more dog parks where animals can go to the bathroom in the city of Denver than places for human beings who don't have $2 to $5 in their pocket to pay for something?
That's
for
why
the privilege to use the bathroom.
Singing and start swinging.
So then the bottom line of that we want to get with, because there's a lot happening during this MLK weekend, and another thing is the parade. I'm a huge fan of the parade. I go every year.
Stop marching.
And there's you're to meet at City Park at 8 o'clock. They usually step off about 10-ish.
So we're going to be done before that.
Okay, but this is on Monday, but you're starting on Sunday.
But we're sleeping out all night. So by the time everybody's coming to City Park to gather up and to start building, forming their community groups and lining up in their positions in the parade, and to make sure that each group that's meeting has their props for their actions that will be occurring during the parade, because we know that every year at this point this is a time frame for action, for community expression, and we'll be looking for the Tuesday papers to see who did the best action that drew the news reports or whatever. But if I can be really clear about this, the action on Sunday expires roughly at sunrise. There will be breakfast. So we're gonna start with a meal.
Right.
This community is always formed around food and having conversations, and we know this because Occupy Denver, Boycott the Urban Camping Ban does that weekly meal on the 16th Street Mall to educate tourists about about the issues on the Denver, the downtown improvement district, the business district, the laws, and how it's all being enforced. So we feed down there, and we do that sustainably. We're going to be having a meal on Sunday night as well, and there'll be some plates and dishes for people to use. But if you have your own dishes, if you're coming to stay for a part of the night but not all night, you're welcome to bring a dish to pass, a potluck, if you will. You're encouraged to bring your own dishes that you're going to wash when you go back home. so that this is a no trash, right? We're going to do this action in a way that's beneficial for our environments, for our community. We don't want to have that attitude that, oh, look, these protesters are just going to leave trash everywhere or anything like that.
Are you all at an impasse? PJ, everyone that are dealing with, our unhoused neighbors, is it an impasse or is there an opportunity to correct or move in a different direction?
Let me say this. I think that, we who have been activists for the last 5 years have tried to activate the King March towards action. What happens is we get arrested and then we are criminalized and we become we are put at great risk to do something again. And so it becomes spectacle because we're so frightened to go to jail because the implications are serious. And so, but I think we are done with that nonsense.
Yes.
So when we just came from a meeting with the police. The mayor's office is very excited, and they really want to meet with me, and they really want to work with us.
Well, then that's good. You met with the police chief.
So we did be very clear that we're doing a First Amendment action, and that nonviolent, peaceful interactions in the community are the way that we strengthen and solidify ourselves, and that this is an honor of the civil rights activists that have come before us, right? And so there are going to be 24-hour camera running, all night long. There will be broadcasts to the world so that this First Amendment action is brought out there to everybody, right? You can't turn on your local news channel and watch the protests that have been happening for over 2 months in France, right? It just doesn't happen on a daily basis. You got to go to the YouTube. You got to go to the private journalists. You got to go to the Facebook feeds, right? Like, that's why we're here today, right? And the people have that First Amendment right of free speech and of journalism. So we're going to be broadcasting this all night long. So as the mayoral race in the election, we're not at an impasse. There's an action on May 7th. Or those who get that prior to, that is to be completed. And that is to vote in regards to how the city has been handling its community housing situation for the last 8 years.
Now, tell me if I've got some of this mixed up, because Smokey Girl Jones, Darlene, asked, why go after the MLK Parade? Why not go after the Women's March? But before you answer that, what I'm hearing are very separate and distinct movements, if you will. The parade is on Monday.
Yes.
This Resurrection City is on Sunday.
Right.
And goes on until the sun comes up and there's breakfast and all of those different things. And people can choose to participate in the parade in any way they want to.
They absolutely
Because this is not targeted at the parade.
No.
And if you want to go to the Women's March on Saturday, that's another different event.
Exactly. And so, but it's very important to recognize this, because the MLK March has a lot of corporate sponsors. The Women's March is becoming very corporatized, right? And I mean, when you're asking the mayor for $10,000 to fund security and toilets at a public free speech First Amendment action in the city of Denver, it tells you a lot about our infrastructure and
Hold on, the women.
Can I say this?
Hold on, the women asked for financial support from the city.
At least from the mayor's office.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Oh.
And so that means that it's a level of corporate spending, of commercialization, where fees and permits and you have to come in with private toilets because the city doesn't have enough toilets for people to use the bathroom in the community. You have to pay for those things, right? That's what the privatization
And to
of
rent
that
out
is.
the parks, you have to do that.
I have a friend who works her name's Aaliyah. She works for one of the major insurance companies, and I cannot say which. They are one of the major sponsors, but their employees are actually on mandatory time and a half on Monday, so they cannot come to the parade. And so Darlene's asking, why engage with the parade? Because Dr. King would no longer be marching in spectacle when there were people on the streets. He'd cross the line and get arrested with us. Our brother Jerry is literally going to sort of be carrying a jail cell through the march, and it will be placed in a very highly visible location that day.
Okay, but that action is not assigned with the Sunday night action.
I know.
It's a separate thing.
I told Lisa Calderon. I said, Lisa,
Here we go.
I said, Lisa, how long do you want us to sleep out? Because we can sleep out for 3 months. We've slept out for 5 years.
We can.
And so we are prepared to sleep out indefinitely. And
Wow.
we don't mind spending time in jail if it's going to stop this insanity.
Well, I can
Let me
tell
ask
you.
one question, Jeff.
Go ahead, JB. Ask me one question.
What is the end result of marching on Martin Luther King Day? Do we accomplish anything by the march, by marching?
Hell no.
That's my question.
Not a damn thing.
It makes
Are you asking me particularly?
Well, it makes us feel good. It makes us feel good
I
about the
wanna feel
legacy,
good.
the
Sure.
legacy of Martin Luther King.
What's wrong with
But
feeling good, JB?
I'm not
Are
saying
you
that-
teaching your children?
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I took my kids every year.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, what really do we accomplish? We don't do anything for the homeless. We don't do anything for the people who don't have food. We don't do anything for housing. We don't do anything. All we do is march. We march from downtown. We hear some speeches. We march downtown. Then we go home.
I like the Marine.
JB, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest.
Great.
The reason we're camping, and I'm going to be very
That's
clear,
doing something.
we are sleeping in tents, in
Right.
sleeping bags, on public space,
That's doing
violating the law.
That's doing
Right?
something.
That is
Exactly.
doing an action,
Yeah.
and that is defending
I like that too.
constitutional rights.
But you know, I'm the
That's
type.
what we're doing.
I like getting around anybody who's trying to do something in any kind of way, and I don't know
Okay.
if it's always the right way or the whatever. But when you say, "What are we doing when we march with the parade, JB?" This isn't the parade. We're talking about Resurrection City
Right.
on Sunday.
We're talking about all three actions over the weekend.
But right now,
well, there's an action today that we missed.
we
to be
did
here.
there's a Four Directions march as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
Right.
Isn't that today?
It actually has expired.
And so, so when you start thinking about what are we doing, the parade, from my perspective, is
Accomplishments.
well, not only accomplishments.
It's
Sometimes
community.
I get together with community, and I'm around people
Right.
who I haven't seen in a while.
Exactly.
You got people who are fraternities, sororities. You got all kind of fellowship. You've got people exercising who haven't walked across the street for half the year. So you know there's a health element
It's
attached to it.
It's a
community.
lonely road as a social justice activist in this city, and it is the one time where all of the radical progressives and some who are too radical to even say that's a bunch of nonsense. It is good to see that we're not in isolation, and Dr. Vincent Harding used to say, "We are not finished, and we belong to each other."
Right,
So, there
right,
you
and
go.
there's so many things, right?
Oh, the Four Directions march was canceled due to weather.
Well, they did go live for a little bit from the Capitol. I was trying to get there, but you got to remember the living wage to pay for a mortgage in the city of Denver right now is $22 an hour, and minimum wage is around $11 an hour. So that means that people are working 2 jobs to have a place to live. Sometimes you need on a day off a chance to fellowship and come together
Yeah.
in community and have a little fun.
Well, if I was a candidate, like for example, Mayor Michael Hancock has raised $1 million. If I was a candidate of any of those particular races, I'd have my team out there
Yeah.
putting out what I'm doing. Because there's not a few times, there's not going to be many more times where you're going to have that concentration of people. You can use it to your benefit, or you can watch it. Some people just stand and it's a parade. I like to watch the drummers on York Turn That Corner, the community drummers, and some people have their children there. So it means something to everybody, and if you show up, it obviously means something. And if you don't show up, then there's something else you could show up for. And if you want to support the homeless people or unhoused neighbors, go on Sunday, 7 o'clock, 27th and Arapaho.
You're going to come and join us, correct?
Yes, I'm going to come.
Come and- are
I'm
you
not
gonna
going to
camp?
sleep outside.
Ah,
But
right.
I'm not going to do that
Monday.
because...
And then Monday we are gathering at the fountain on Monday morning. If you
Yeah.
want to be part of another conversation, gather with us. We're going to meet folks from the Poor People's Campaign, from Occupy, from Denver Homeless Out Loud. When we met with the commander, they said, "What are you going to do on Monday?" "Oh, you think we're going to tell you what we're going to do on Monday?"
Okay.
But
Well, I
if
can
you
tell
want to know, you
I
can
will
come on Sunday.
If you
and
guys,
maybe practice.
you know what you guys should have,
What's it called?
PJ. You guys should have like a hospitality tent.
We will.
I'll jump in a tent.
I absolutely will put you in a tent.
Oh yeah, brother Jeff is sleeping with us on Sunday.
I said I'm gonna go in the tent.
Yeah.
Trust me. Listen, folks, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it here. Brother Jeff will be getting in a tent.
That's right.
On Monday.
You are getting a tent.
We're gonna get. He doesn't even
out.
know what that means yet.
I'll hang out.
He doesn't even know what that means yet.
I'll hang out.
We were gonna see Brother Jeff in a
Let
tent.
me call police
on
chief. Let him
Monday.
know brother Jeff is coming down.
I'll hang out
That
in
is
the
a
tent.
precursor to
I'll hang
what
out
we're
in
gonna
the
talk
I'll
about
hang out
on
in the tent.
Saturday.
I won't tell you how long I'll hang out in the tent. You haven't been into my house and tell you right. That heat is on 1,000 right
Oh,
now.
you might actually need the tent to help protect you.
Exactly.
The environment, the elements.
Okay, so with all that said, Brian, right on, bro.
Yes. Hey, can I do real quick?
Let's-
Thank you very much. I want to pitch. If you are going out on Saturday to the Women's March, Occupy Denver. Janet Madsen has the kitchen that she's been doing
Janet's
for
my
6
girl.
years.
Get her
And
on
so
here.
I have to give her a shout out because we're going to have 2 or 3 stations where we're going to be accepting donations
Nice.
for the buttons that she makes. Those donations are used to fund the thousands of people who over the last 6 years have guaranteed that they're going to have a warm meal that's
Wow.
home cooked. And remember, on Sundays there's no trash. It's coffee carafes, it's plates that get washed, it's hotel pans of food, real metal silverware, no plastic throwaways, because we treat people who eat with us the same as we want to treat them any
I
other
like
time.
that. I like that a lot. And Brian, I'll come down. Jesse said he'll come down. Have a tent up for me. I'll broadcast.
I'm going to give you. I'm going to have a tent for you. It might not be up,
Just if you see me
but
pop up,
it's going to be a tent ready.
I'll have him. We'll come out and hang out.
It will not
but I
be
like
sticking
everybody
around.
who's doing whatever they do to make the world a better place for everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's what's happening. And
Appreciate
you're one of
it.
those people. Keep doing the work. And, I think that we will figure out a way to have a level place where the city, the Mile High Income City, will include multiple incomes,
Yeah.
multiple ways of life. And I'll tell you what, Taz, you put on some Cardi B and I'm there. That's right.
So
You bring it. I'll bring my Cardi B mixtape.
So for those who are coming and want to help, I want to make sure because people are going to see this and they're going to be asking questions. For Sunday night, one of the things that we want to make sure that you're helping us by doing is not bringing disposable plastic water bottles because that's going to create extra trash and it's a whole nother environmental issue. We want bodies to come, to be present physically, to join us in this spiritual experience and really
Don't
try to
promote.
stick around as long. Yeah, this is trash, and we'll talk about
That on another show.
we'll talk about that on another show. But this concept also goes whether you're going to the Women's March, whether you're going to the Parade on Monday. Bring your snack food, pack in and pack out. Like
Here's
you're
Jerry
climbing
Burton.
like
He
you're
walked in the room.
climbing a 14.
Jerry, what's up, bro? Jerry is in the building.
Give me a second. Let me catch my breath. I ran down here.
Oh
Ran
man!
down.
Yo, brother Jeff is coming to sleep in your tent with you.
I'm gonna come hang out.
So
with you.
so
I'm
we're gonna
come
see
hang
you
out
on
with you,
Sunday
Jerry.
night, hanging out with Jerry. We want everybody to come and join us. Dignitaries, leaders. We're gonna give everybody a chance to speak. Huh?
All right, you all. Don't forget if you go down swinging.
Yep.
That's right.
Just might score a knockout.
Find me, by the way, guys. If you're looking at Instagram, YouTube, whatever, Cut the Plastic. That's my handle.
Cut the plastic.
That's right.
Give him one. Tell him one more time.
Cut the Plastic. CUTTHEPLASTIC. Cut the plastic out of your life and start saving the earth.
And Jerry, you're gonna have a big party on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a big party tonight, tomorrow night, and then we'll
And
get
And
down
we're
on
gonna
the
make it
pie.
a big
And
party.
then on top of that, one thing, it was a question that I was listening to back at the office. I left a meeting
Okay.
to come down to run down here real quick to say what I got to say.
Say it.
What people don't realize is this: in the '60s, the same thing that was going on when the first European came over here has been going on for 400 and some years.
Right.
And the thing about it is, we have to stand up for what we believe in
That's right.
as a people.
Stand up.
And what Martin Luther King was saying in his speech from Birmingham and throughout all his speeches was the fact that injustice to some is an injustice to all of us. And we have to understand that if we don't stand up now, guess what's going to happen? We all are going to be treated as dog or sheep to the slaughter.
Wow.
And we have to understand that the same thing that Martin Luther King said from the jail cell in Birmingham, Alabama, is the same thing that is going on today. if you take it and read his speech and let it speak to your heart, your mind, your soul, you will understand that this is not a game. This is the corporate, because the giants back in the day, according to the Bible, according to the Quran and the Torah, it states that it will be the same way in the days of Noah.
Wow.
That and the same thing is happening today, but it's not giants, it's not people, it's corporation, it's the rich people of the world that are doing this.
They're the
and
giants.
we got sellout
They're the
that
giants.
are actually selling us out the same way they sold my people out.
It sounds like we need a poor people's campaign.
Well,
We got that.
that's
But we
why you
all need to
gotta
come
call and
together.
join Jerry on Sunday night, hang out with him, be
right,
in
Jerry.
relationship, because the
All right.
campaign only happens
Stay-
when
stay-
we're here, face to
All right.
face and eye to eye, right?
All right, you all. Jerry, right on.
Amen,
everybody,
Jerry.
come on, everybody. Right on. Special edition, Brian. Keep it going.
Thank you.
Go down swinging. Don't forget, make your 7 donations, brother Jeff.
And don't forget to
Any
find
amount.
Colorado, Denver, Homeless Out Loud, and give them a shout out for their work too, huh?
Man, you know, powerful stuff is, and this is a very appropriate time to be talking about these issues. If we're going to honor Dr. King,
Yes.
what better way of honoring him by doing an action of whatever you're able to do.
Exactly.
Whatever you do, do it, and do it to death. All right.
Rumble, baby.
All right.
Rumble, baby, rumble. Did you know the Louis? You know the Louis? You all know that the Louisville Lip got an airport named after him.
Yeah, he did. Muhammad Ali.
That's right, Muhammad Ali. All right, you all. Let's get up. Well, let's see here. Where are we
So
at?
how's even working? We're just going in
Where
overtime.
we at?
Join us Sunday mornings outside the Corner Bakery, 9:30 to 11:30. Food, clothing, if you got some jobs to offer, lots of people.
And
who
by
are
the way,
looking for-
Michael Hancock, if you want to sleep out with us, you are more than
by all
welcome.
means.
I'll send a personal invitation out to
Alvin
you.
Brooks, I'll
Yes, he
snuggle
can
with you.
pay
I'll
with
spoon with